Hey guys, what is going on? Gareth here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today, we're going to be taking on the Gareth Record Buster, and I'm going to be going over what skill flow I have used and what skills I've used on each single turn, and talking about exactly how you can maximize your score going up against Gareth. Now, of course, if you guys are going to enjoy this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, leave a comment down below how your score is looking like on the final days of Gareth's Record Buster. And actually, before we even get into the video and the nitty-gritty of what I did to maximize my score, I want to say a very happy new year to every single one of you. This video might not go out on New Year's Day, but it's still the new year, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic time so far, and I hope you guys have a fantastic year ahead of you. You guys have been astounding in your support for my channel and me, and I'm very excited to keep producing content for you guys in the upcoming year, and I'm hoping that you guys achieve every single one of your goals as well. Now, obviously, when I do talk about the new year as well, I can't go without saying this as well, is that I have some goals of myself and I really want to make sure I achieve them, and I can't do them without your support. So hopefully you guys keep supporting me, and I will keep providing you guys the content that you guys might enjoy. Of course, that's the end goal. That is obviously the end goal. But yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for watching these videos, and obviously a very happy new year to every single one of you. Now, let's go into the Gareth Record Buster and let's talk about the skill flow. Now, the thing is with this Record Buster, the skill flow is quite different to every single other fight we do. Of course, when you go up against Sotarl and Riveria, you have to remember that they remove your buffs on turns 4 and turns 8, so you have to reapply them the following turn. It's the same situation with even Finn. When you go up against Finn's Record Buster, it's the same situation. And I know we haven't had a Finn Record Buster in like months now, but that's the same thing you have to do. You have to be wary that he removes your buffs on turn 4, you reapply them on turn 5. Of course, you have to also acknowledge the fact that he will increase his strength and magic by a ridiculous amount, so you have to make sure you can remove it. And then of course, Revis is just removing her own debuffs on turn 6 and turn 10, so that's something you have to keep track of and be wary on. Gareth, on the other hand, is very unique. He also has the same mechanic as Revis, where it's turn 6 and turn 10, where he does something to the buffs and debuffs, but on turn 6, he will remove your buffs, and then on turn 10, at the end of turn 10, basically, he will remove his own debuffs. So you have to kind of accommodate for that fact that he's doing two different things, which doesn't really help your situation, and it becomes a bit of a problem. Now, of course, for us, we had to change our skill flow drastically from the Riveria video that we did a week ago. So it's going to be completely different. So I hope you guys keep track and follow what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to be going over two teams just like the Riveria Record Buster. And in fact, they're the two same exact teams. I've just used the same exact teams, just changed the way their skills work. Now, I'm going to use this team first because, in fact, funnily enough, this is the weaker team. I'm managing to get a score that's lower than this team, surprisingly. Now, I'm not sure if it's because my skill flow is not appropriate. Maybe it's also down to the fact that maybe my assists aren't perfect enough for this situation, right? That's also plausible. But instead, we're having to focus on this team being the stronger team and this being the weaker team. That being said, though, the score difference between these two was about 200 to 300 million. But along with that, the bigger issue that I found with running this team is that it was less consistent than this team. Now, let's talk about this team first and foremost. So as you guys can see, it's a very similar setup to last time round. The only changes I made to the armor pieces is that the DPS units are using stun anklets, glorious anklets that have stun res, basically. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rechange that because, of course, I was using the other team to try and, perfect its, perfect its skill flow so that I could make this video. But let me rechange everything, and I'm going to bring back in this. And I'm going to give the revolving anklets back to Lily and give the stun anklet back to Wine. But yeah, like I said, this team is a lot less consistent. I found myself dying more often with this team, and on top of that, it wasn't even giving me a better score. And I'll come on to why exactly it wasn't giving me a better score and I have some ideas about it. Now, in terms of the skill flow, I'll just go over each and every single unit here. Lazar and Lily Ruka do the same thing as they normally do. Of course, Lazar does Militus Missio. That's his third skill, to give us that STR and magic down, along with the penetration rate down, along with giving us STR heal, light attack damage, and stuff like that. Lily Ruka is there to primarily just give us her second skill, which reduces the opponent's agility, penetration rate, and water res down, which is of course primarily for Wine at the end. Now the only issue is that a lot of these debuffs won't last the entire fight, right? After turns 10, it's gonna go away because Gareth will remove his debuffs on turn 10, and then of course he removes his buffs on turn 6, which is removes our buffs on turn 6, which is, that's more manageable. It's just that the debuffs that's on him goes away, and that becomes a big problem, and that's where a little bit of these skill flows come into play. So when it comes to Belle and Fianna, they stay the same more or less. They stay the same more or less. You see me buffing up on turns 1 and 2, and then next on turns 7 and 8, and then the rest of the turns are basically the third skill, because he only gets his buffs removed on turn 6, and after that he doesn't need to reapply anything or anything of that sort on Gareth. So he stays the same for the most part. Fianna is the same as well. On turns 1 and turn 7 is when you give her the buffs, and then after that it's only using skill 1 and then the essays on certain turns. Now the only thing you guys might have noticed is that on turn 11 I use Salvation Spear. The primary reason for that is because Gareth will use a ability to give himself P-Res, M-Res, and Counter Rate, and obviously he also applies a Dark Resist debuff on us. So basically, to remove all of that, we use Salvation Spear, because what Salvation Spear does is it removes the opponent's status buffs by 2 turns and removes our status debuffs by 2 turns. So it gives us a bit more survivability as well. And along with that, we have Finn and Wine. Now, Finn is a little different. On turns 1 and turn 7, I normally buff him, but on turn 8, I will special arts with him so that he can start applying these debuffs and buffs on us, basically. So the P-Res down, the SA Gate charge up, magic, SCR, endurance, agility, dexterity, that all goes up. And then on turn 11, we do Leading Spear again, because we want to reapply the debuff of the light res down, basically, to give us more power. Outside of that, he will special arts on turn 15. Wine as well is sort of similar. 2, 3, 1, 1 special arts to give us the STR and magic boost. In fact, actually, I'm gonna just do this really quickly. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Just changing one thing around. So on turn 7, I will buff, and then I will special arts with her and Finn at the same time. Then 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, basically, assuming she survives. Because one of the things I've noticed is that Wine is kind of fragile in my team. She will die on turn 14. At the end of turn 14, she just capitulates, and sometimes even earlier. So that becomes a problem. Now, with this team, I've scored around 2.12 billion, give or take. So it's not like a bad scoring team whatsoever, even though I lose a unit at the end. But the problem is that run happens like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 because something goes wrong. Maybe Gareth will penetrate and deal way more damage, which will not help my team survive. So that's something that will happen. Now, let's go into the fight and let's go over it basically once over. We'll do this really quickly. I'm not going to necessarily put too much of a focus on it. So I'm going to switch off auto battle so that I can go over each single turn. Now, like I said, the starting phases of the fight aren't that bad. Everything stays the same. Everything is very similar. It's that critical moment on turns 10 onwards where things become a bit problematic, because of course he loses his strength and magic debuffs, which means that we have to survive with taking the full brunt of his attacks. We don't have any physical res, we don't have any magic res, so it's a lot about survivability at the end, at that point, because Wine doesn't have any debuffs or anything, right? And that's one of the other reasons why the other team actually does extremely well, because obviously Haruhime has that physical res and M-res up, and that's consistently there. Now, the one thing I use here is Candy Cane Impact, because it does remove Garrett's physical resist buffs. It's one of the reasons why it's super popular. Like, otherwise I would have just used Salvation Spear in this situation, but there's no reason for us to use Salvation Spear here. Alright, so now we can just use Snow Shoveling Gift here, which is fantastic. We can just keep attacking here from here on. But yeah, like I said, this is where this phase of the fight isn't that bad. I mean, Wine is taking a little bit of damage here, but thankfully the HP regeneration and everything helps us a lot. The only issue is, of course, like I said, is once we get to that turn 10 phase where he's just dealing so much damage, it just starts becoming a big problem there, because we just don't survive. We simply cannot survive that, and it becomes a big problem there. Now, of course, on turn 7, we keep buffing everybody back up. We reapply everybody's buffs and stuff. No real issue there. Then on turn 8, this is where we use our double special arts. Basically, we use the double special arts here. What's a Gale video without do not disturb off? Honestly, it's ridiculous. So yeah, there's our special arts. We're dealing our special arts. We really are doing these primarily because we can get the buffs from Wine, because of course he doesn't remove our buffs from there that point onwards, right? Our strength 120% that Wine gives us across all allies is sticking, and same with Finn's buffs. Basically, Finn's additional buffs that he gives through his additional actions will be immense. It'll be tremendous for the rest of the fight, so that's something to bear in mind. Now we keep attacking like normal here, and keep going from here basically, so that we can just deal as much damage as possible. But yeah, turn 9 is okay. We use Candy Cane Impact here because of course his P-Res buff is up still at this point, right? And then we can start doing it. But yeah, as you guys could see with that counter attack damage, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so much damage there on Wine. But of course that was with the Dark Res debuff. Now he removes all his debuffs at this point. Now he removes all his debuffs. So as you guys can see, there's no debuffs on his ability. So now you have to kind of reapply any and every debuff you have in order to make sure you're maximizing the damage. Of course, the additional actions from Finn gives us the minus 60% P-Res, which helps us a lot. This is a great situation now. We're in a good situation here purely because he would have gone for Wine. He usually goes for Wine with that additional single target attack, and that deals so much damage that Wine doesn't survive. It becomes a big problem. That is also a problem. If that penetration happens, she's dead. So it becomes a big problem. I'm going to finish off this run just to get a score, but that is not what happens usually. If the ideal situation would be that she guards in that situation, Wine that is. This is a dead run at this point. This is a dead run. You've wasted a run. You have to retry again and hope for the best. And that's why I'm not a big fan of this in all honesty. I'm not a big fan of this team, to be quite honest. It requires you to be very lucky in a place, and of course, I mean, Finn was about to die there. We only survived because of you know, the KO survivability that Bell gives. I mean, we're probably gonna die with Finn anyways in this turn. There we go, he's dead. So that basically invalidates this run tremendously because we've lost a unit, and we don't even have the ability to do a triple super. That's the idea here, is that Wine survives till at least turn 14, and then even if she dies after that, we have a double super, a triple super ready with Finn, Belle, and Fianna. That didn't happen. So either way, we've lost a lot of score here. I'm probably expecting this to be around 1.7 to 1.8 billion, which again, like I say, is not a bad score. That's easily a top 500 score minimum. It's good. It's good enough. It's good enough for most players. But of course, you know, it's not something that you can easily achieve with this team because of how inconsistent it is. So that's team 1. Team 1 is not really that great. 1.81 billion, which is fair enough. So we move on from that team and we move on to the second team. The second team is this team, the team with Haruhime as the support unit rather than anything else. And the reason why I feel like this team also does better than the other team is because of the resistances that the Gareth has. Now, Gareth has an inherent 50% physical resistance, which means physical units aren't dealing that much damage. On top of that, however, he has a minus 80% magic res and a minus 70% light res, which means a unit like Haruhime is amazing for this situation because even her third skill and second skills, which are supposed to deal damage, will actually deal some damage rather than just being there as a support option and not dealing any damage whatsoever. So that makes her really valuable for this team and makes her extremely strong. Now, one thing I'm going to quickly do is reapply everybody's armors quickly, give Wine back her revolving physical amulet. The primary reason she has that is for her second skill, for that 30% ST damage. And then Haruhime gets her M amulet. She's just there for the first skill, the first skill that she has, which gives us a critical rate, counter rate, and penetration rate. Haruhime gets the stun anklet back on her now. So yeah, basically this team is primarily there to survive. It's consistent, it deals a lot of damage, and it's good to go. So the skill order is more or less the same. I don't think there's that many differences. I mean, yeah, as you guys can see, the Haruhime's skill order is the only one that you probably want to have a look at and stuff, right? Sakuna, Migiri, and Yaozu obviously being used in the appropriate places. Special art on turn 8. One thing with this team as well is that because of Haruhime's amazing SA gauge charge abilities, we actually kind of overcharge the SA gauge at times. So there is actually a lot of room for improvement potentially on this team and making it a better, smoother operation. But yeah, it gets overcharged really easily. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, the one thing I want to change here actually as well is I want to put Salvation Spear there. Now, the thing with Salvation Spear is I'm putting it there so that we can deal more damage when he's got his buffs up, basically. So, because he's going to reapply P-Res and M-Res. And the thing is, I don't use Salvation Spear towards the end because I want to counter as much as possible at the dead end of the fight, basically. So that at the last phases of the fight, we're going to deal immense amounts of damage, and I want to make sure we can deal that much damage. At the start, because we're dealing so little damage and, you know, we don't have the buffs up or anything of that sort, I want to make sure we are dealing as much damage as possible. So that's why we are using Salvation Spear in order to deal a lot of damage through the other moves and abilities that we have. So we're going to edit that skill flow and move on. The rest of it stays the same. I'm going to zoom past it. You guys can see this is Bells. This is Finn's. Very similar. The only real change between the previous one and this one is that instead of doing a triple super on the last turn, we're doing it on turn 12 this time. So that's something to bear in mind. And Haruhime's first skill is used for her, basically. The other Haruhime, I should say. Alright. Anyways, we move into the fight and let's see what score we can get now. So this is the team that I used to get a score of 2.15 billion. It's not it's not able to get me number 1 in my group. I think Noir has 2.16 billion. Just a smidge of a difference. It's like a 10 million score difference, which is really annoying, but it's what it is. I've seen the assists he has. He's got the Argonaut and stuff, which gives him that extra bit of damage, which I can't get. So it's unfortunate, but that's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. So we continue on. Again, like I said, I don't want to really focus too much on the each specific turn now, because like I said, everything is pretty much more or less the same. I mean, you guys can see the resistances here. This is just to add an extra factor on like what exactly you're dealing with. These resistances make a huge difference, so you have to keep an eye out on this sort of stuff, to be quite honest. All right, so let's see what happens here. So we carry on with the normal attacks. Now I'm curious to see if we can get a better score in comparison to the other scores I've gotten, because I didn't have Salvation Spear on turn 4, but I want to see if it makes like that smidge of a difference, just that smidge of a difference. I'm not sure if it will, but it'll be good to see if it'll make a difference or not, to be quite honest. So we use Salvation Spear here to be able to get the resist out of there, which is fantastic. Gives us a little bit more damage as well from every single character here, which is fantastic. So there we go. Now we can go back to the normal attacks. Beautiful. Get that guard. Unbelievable. I hate it, man. I hate it, man. Every time we get that guard, it's just like, please, why though? Why though? Why do we need to get a guard? All right, so Yaozu there. So yeah, now on turn 6 is when we will be able to deal when we'll have to deal our buffs back in, basically, to these units. So that's a-okay for us to deal with. And yeah, yeet. There we go. There's the big yeet from Gareth. Okay. Now, again, like I said, this is where we don't really do anything crazy with in the sense of like we don't use you know, Finn's SA or anything, because the thing is with Finn's SA, right, it scales off strength ability, and on top of that, he also doesn't get any light attack damage boost from anybody else. So it's better for us to use our special arts the following turn to maximize the damage from Finn. In my eyes, at least. That's the reason why we do it this turn instead. So we're gonna let it rip both of their special arts and get it out of the way. Like I said, we tend to overcharge with this team. I mean, you guys might have, if you guys go back to the previous team's run and you see this team's run, you can see the difference between the you know, the gauge charges or the gauge at the top right in comparison to the previous one, because it's just so much of a difference. We're so far ahead in terms of the gauge charge. It's ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous. But that's obviously because of like I said, Haruhime's SA gauge charge is ridiculous, and now obviously with the special arts she gives 44% to the entire team. Obviously Finn's gives 66%, so that makes it even faster, and then she herself gives 111%. So it's a lot happening there for sure. All right, there we go. Beautiful. So again, this is where you could make an argument that I'm playing a bit of a risk, of course, by letting him have his buffs and stuff, but we need the counters, because the thing is, the rest of the team, you know, usually when we run out of the dark res debuff and stuff, right, Haruhime and Fianna don't counter. Now I don't mind Haruhime not countering, because Haruhime's counters are just pure heals, but Fiona not countering is a real bit of pain because she deals damage, so it becomes a little bit of an annoyance in that regards. So there we go. Leading spear, use holy thrust. There we go. Warblade, boom. 4,000, a little bit of damage there, but we're gonna heal it back right up because of Haruhime, which is fantastic. Again, this is where, I mean, yeah, you guys can see we're at maximum, basically, what's it called, gauge there, and it's like, okay then, buddy. All right, so let's see how much damage we get dealt here. Now, again, it's a bit of a risk you're taking by doing that, but I think we're gonna take no damage because we obviously, the thing is, the way the special arts actually works, and this is a way, this is for all fights. It's not just to Gareth, but it's all record busters. Is that it happens at the end of turn 11, but not really. It actually happens at the start of the next turn instead. So that means any buffs or debuffs that they may have or you might have, they're not existent because, well, yeah, I mean, it's happening the following turn. So, for example, the Dark Res debuff was there for 2 turns only. So, turn 10 and then turn 11. But because the SA happens on turn 12, the debuff's gone. So, you're safe in that regards. That's why you might have been concerned about Haruhime, but you don't have to worry about it at all. You realistically do not have to worry about it. So, yeah, now from here on this point, it's just dealing as much damage as possible. That's it. That's all that matters, is just dealing as much damage as possible, making sure he doesn't guard anything or anything of that sort. Now, I have tried other ways to potentially get a triple super on turn 15, but it's just too late. It's just too late, or I say the turn comes too early instead, actually. That's a bit better way of saying it. Because the issue is, right, is that you do these triple essays right now, and then you just don't have enough essays to happen at the end of the turn. So it becomes a bit of a problem in that regards, where you just aren't able to maintain that level of you aren't able to get to the triple essay point at all. It just won't happen. I mean, we get to 2 very, very comfortably, but going for the triple it's very difficult. It is very, very difficult. Alrighty, there we go. But yeah, we're at basically 2.5. Now, the issue is, right, is because Gareth removes the debuffs and stuff on turn 10, it becomes a bit of an issue where, you know, you don't have enough time to be able to recoup all of that. And I think on turn 10, we don't even get all the SA gate charges to get to a triple SA, as far as I know. So it becomes a bit of a problem in that regard. But either way, it still gives us a good score, I think, overall. And, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good overall. It's pretty good. Tracks of Courage. Nice. Nice. Let's see how much damage that is. 4.14 million. Saying billion a bit too much. 4.14 million, which is fantastic. Beautiful. Of course, like I said, if you guys have any other suggestions in terms of team compositions and anything, if you know, maybe like, okay, you can maybe do this better, let me know in the comments, of course. That would help us tremendously. But yeah, this one was a 2.14 billion score, just obviously slight differences because of damage and stuff, but still a very, very good amount to get nonetheless. And I'm very, very, very happy with it. I think I'm still going to get the top 100 score, which is fantastic. Maybe it'll be a little bit close, but top 100, top 500, I don't mind it. I mean, I've got a top 100 score already, so it's okay for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video nonetheless. Let me know how you guys fared in your scores, and hopefully my video could help you out in some way, shape, or form. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Now we're on the road to 1,000. Thank you guys so much for letting me hit 700 before the year ended. Now it's on to 1,000. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye, everybody.